would this entice people who wouldn't be apt to go to therapy because now they can go, I don't want to say trip balls, but be in that environment where they can dabble and use and then come out with something on the other side.
Well, you shouldn't want to go to therapy because you can do drugs. I get what you're saying, but you should initially the thought, and at least in my opinion, the idea to go to therapy is to receive help. You have some sort of mental block or just something on your chest, mental, psyche, etc., that you need to get off, and you need to talk to someone who's unbiased, someone not a family member, friend, someone who you can basically spill all the beans to. So no, you shouldn't be like, all right, yeah, I I feel a little bit of anxiety, so I'm going to go get a free dose of mushrooms. That way I can get my fix. But I see what you're saying, at least in part.
Well, I guess, okay, I definitely am not framing it correctly, but I guess the point would be like, as far as like therapy goes, there's a lot of folks that they go to therapy and they go week to week to week to week, and there's limited progression in what they're getting out of it because they've got their roadblocks up. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden you go in, I'm sorry, there's not very many people out there that can hide. There's no roadblocks on a acid trip. Yeah. It's just the open road is flowing in. And I do feel like if you went to a therapist and you were on mushrooms, yeah, I feel like your session, your 8-hour session would be much more productive in one sitting than 8 to 20 weeks.
Right.
Just going and sitting down stone cold sober.
Before Alan dives in, I will say, in my personal opinion, every human being should eat a little bit. I'm not saying a lot, a teeny tiny dosage. A small amount to broaden your horizons, and then you can decide whether or not you like it or don't like it, and voila. Therapy aside. Then, Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see an issue with it. There is a lot of research, like Mer touched on, in the 60s and into the 70s, where
the Tuskegee experiments.
Like, no, Jesus Christ. No, nothing like that. But yeah, no, well, a little like that, but not really. Not as egregious. But yes, people even back then said the same thing, that they experienced, less anxiety, less stress, if they were depressed, alleviation of those symptoms, doing especially LSD, but mushrooms as well. LSD, there's a shit ton of fucking research, all dates back from like the 60s, that says a surprisingly lot of good things about it in a therapeutic sense, but the war on drugs and such. So fucking it really got pushed to the side. But I think we're coming, like Mer said, we're coming back around, and people are starting to use this. Now you obviously have to gauge this, like, we can't be having, I think if you're going to couple it with therapy, you probably have to see this therapist a couple times before they could take you on the fucking mushroom trip.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that might be like a good way to kind of regulate it, at least medicinally. But also I feel like you should just be able to sell people mushrooms.
Yeah, but on the opposite end, you're also going to have a therapist who's licensed to prescribe. Can you prescribe something like that?
But I mean, also, but likewise, they do that with weed, and you basically, like, nowadays in COVID, you could just call up and say, "Hey, man, I'm fucking anxious about this COVID," and they're like, "Cool, smoke this weed. Here's your card. It'll be in the mail."
All right, let's be real. Marijuana and mushrooms are fucking. I'm going to refer to Jules and Vin from fucking Pulp Fiction. It's like, they ain't even in the same ballpark. They ain't even in the same fucking sport.
That's fair. No, and I agree. But I think they have, if you're going to treat them similarly with regards to therapeutic use, mm-hmm, you obviously have to put some kind of guideline on it. Okay. So yeah, I think like Tamer's point was, if you can't just be having people being like, well, feeling a little blue today, gonna go visit Doc, and then just trip balls for 8 hours. You can't. That seems detrimental You probably have to do something constructive with it. So,
Doc, you got a you got an eighth and a peanut butter sandwich?
yeah, right.
Okay, all right, let's talk. Let's figure this out.
Well,
Sprinkle them on a small cheese, and we'll be good to go.
I just think that, okay, this is kind of a way, I think, for like middle-aged folks to finally go do a hardcore trip in the right setting. Like, as you get older, like in the stresses of life, the all the responsibilities you have, it's kind of hard to carve out like an 8-hour day where you can sit down and like try to fix yourself. And then do you know how to fix yourself? Whether you have a good trip or a bad trip, you're learning something about yourself. And to have a licensed professional who's able to guide you through the steps that you might need to be taking to understand, I don't know. I think this is a good idea all around. I just do. I've seen some documentaries about what they've been doing down at Johns Hopkins with this stuff, and people are like fixing themselves in like 1 or 2 sessions because they can't bullshit because their brain won't allow them. The psilocybin will not allow like the roadblocks of mental bullshit to pop up and get in the way of the therapy session.